The rich rude lady complained that the dish was too salty and demanded the waiter throw it away and make a new one. Tony, fed up, imagined himself picking up the bowl and dumping it over her head. The rich lady's husband stood up in anger, ready to teach Tony a lesson. But Tony claimed he knew Chinese kung fu. In his fantasy, Tony then saw the rich lady leaning on the railing and tossed her into the sea. But suddenly, a snap of fingers brought him back to reality. The rich lady was still there, scolding him relentlessly and telling him to take the dish back to be redone. Frustrated, he carried the dish back to the kitchen, only to hear the chef explain that not a single grain of salt had been added. It couldn't have been salty. She was just nitpicking, deliberately causing trouble to show off her refined taste in front of her friends. A couple of days later, their group went to explore an underwater cave. The rich lady overslept and missed the departure, so she ordered Tony to take her to catch up with them. The sky was already darkening and the weather turning bad. He had no choice but to take her in a small motorized dinghy. Halfway through, the engine suddenly failed. The rich lady exploded with anger and ordered Tony to fix it immediately. But the engine wouldn't start. They were stranded in the endless ocean, drifting farther and farther from the main ship. They could only wait for the crews to pass by and rescue them. But as night fell, no one came. They spent the whole night floating. When the rich lady woke up and saw Tony was gone, she panicked. A while later, Tony returned holding a small fish he had caught. Thinking of her first, he handed it over. But the rich lady sniffed it and threw it away, saying she'd rather starve than eat such disgusting food. Tony was furious. Then at least give it back to me. Why waste it? They started arguing loudly. Just then, they saw a ship passing by in the distance. The rich lady grabbed the signal flare but fumbled for a long time, unable to fire it. Tony told her to let him do it, but she refused and kept trying. In the struggle, the flare gun fell into the sea. Worse yet, the dinghy got punctured and started deflating. They barely managed to cling to what was left and survive a stormy night. The next day, they were lucky to drift near a small island. Overjoyed, they paddled and reached shore. But the rich lady immediately returned to her bossy self, blaming Tony nonstop and ordering him to scout the island. Tony ignored her and went to find food instead. He discovered the island was completely deserted with no sign of people. The rich lady kept threatening to sue him once they were rescued, but Tony finally snapped, "Go play by yourself. I'm done serving you." He walked away to focus on survival. The rich lady, who had no survival skills, wandered aimlessly for hours, hungry, thirsty, and injured. Meanwhile, Tony, who was a fisherman with rich survival experience, gathered useful materials and soon caught fish and lobsters. He also found a freshwater source inland and discovered an abandoned wooden hut with a bed, blankets, fishing nets, and stools left behind by past tourists. When the rich lady saw Tony eating fresh fish and drinking clean water, she removed her gold bracelet, wanting to buy food and water. Tony ignored her. Seeing he wouldn't give in, she got angry again, cursing him and even throwing sand in his face. Tony finally lost all patience and slapped her hard. She was stunned. Tony glared and said coldly, "I'm the master now. If you want to survive, you'll serve me." He threw her some clothes and ordered her to wash them. If she did it well, she'd get food. The rich lady didn't dare argue. She obediently washed the clothes, dried and folded them neatly, and even thanked him for the opportunity. Only then did she finally get to eat a proper meal. From that moment, the balance of power shifted completely. The once arrogant rich lady was now utterly dependent on Tony, while he vented all the humiliation he'd suffered before. Whenever she displeased him, he punished her, sometimes making her sleep outside the hut, sometimes forcing her to dance in exchange for scraps of food. The woman who once danced only on glamorous stages was now performing just to survive. Every time Tony saw the shame and helplessness on her face, he felt a dark satisfaction. But as the days passed, that satisfaction faded. A month went by, and they were still stranded. No one came, not even a passing ship. The rich lady's pride had long been worn down. She no longer acted superior, growing increasingly dependent on Tony, eventually even admiring him. Tony's anger also subsided. He stopped tormenting her and began treating her like a partner. He taught her survival skills, showed her how to fish and gather food. Soon, she learned to catch her own fish. As they worked together, they began to share stories, laughter, and eventually, an unspoken bond grew between them. Something beyond survival happened. They fell for each other. Tony, once a poor nobody, never imagined he'd find love with a wealthy woman. And the rich lady, despite her luxurious life, had always felt lonely among hypocrites and flatterers. For the first time, she felt truly alive and happy. One day, Lady was collecting firewood on the shore when she spotted a yacht nearby. She almost called for help but hesitated. She didn't want to leave because she feared this fragile love wouldn't survive the return to reality. But a month later, another yacht appeared. This time, Tony waved and shouted for help. The rich lady grabbed him, begging him not to. "Let's stay here. Even if we live like this forever, it's fine. If we go back, we might never be together again." But Tony believed their love could withstand any test. He stripped off his shirt, waving it and shouting loudly. The yacht saw them, and they were rescued. On the yacht, people were thrilled to see the rich lady alive. Since her disappearance, her wealthy husband had offered a massive reward and mobilized huge resources to search for her. Hearing this, Tony felt a pang in his heart. At the port, he watched as the rich lady was reunited with her husband. They hugged tightly, surrounded by cameras and reporters. Tony felt an indescribable emptiness. The rich man thanked him and even offered him a huge sum of money for saving his wife. But Tony didn't smile. He turned silently and walked away. He knew he and the rich lady belonged to two completely different worlds.